So welcome to my channel, guys. Today I have a very special guest, Aydyn from Australia. So from the other side of the world. So welcome to my channel, Aydyn. We also created a video for your channel as well.
We did.
Yeah. So maybe can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell the people who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Sure. Thank you for having me on your show as well, Karim. Welcome everybody. My name is Aydyn Glen. I am a part shareholder of the Australian Poker Tour. We host and run probably one of the largest independent poker scenes here in Australia, and right now business is booming. Like, poker has never been as big as it's ever been in Australia right now on the independent scene. With what we were doing, it's fantastic. You know, we're getting professionals from across the seas, from Canada, from names like Tony G coming in and playing with us. Who else have we got? Joe Hasham. He's just probably our local world champion that we have here in Australia. We've got people who have played. Who else? We got Silver Fox. I'm trying to remember his name, but he played heads up with Stu Unger, which is like a story that I'm just in love with, because you know who gets to do that? He's a past poker player. If you're a big fan of poker, you know Stu Unger. Mel Judah, that's the person I'm talking to. So yeah, we've just done a $1.5 million tournament here in Australia, in Queensland, and we've smashed all the records there as well. When it comes to the prize pools and all that sort of stuff, we've had other leagues who are doing just quite as successful as us, and it's a fantastic time here in Australia playing poker. So if you guys want to come all the way across here to Down Under, you're most welcome.
For the viewers who are watching from Europe, I think for them maybe it's not 100% clear. Like that it's not legal to play online poker, right, in Australia. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more, how like the law is exactly.
The laws are pretty tough in Australia for online poker. It's there's no operations allowed to manage it. It's against the law. However, players may play online at their own risk. But there's nothing that can, you know, as a player you can be in trouble for. But as an operator, yeah, you can find yourself in some pretty deep water. I think fines are like 1.2 million per day or something like that. It's absolutely it's absolutely insane. So yeah, we try to focus on the live poker here because it's the purest form, it's the best, and yeah, hopefully you guys are as passionate as what we are about poker. Yeah.
So how can I imagine that? Because you know we have a global pandemic. So if you create a live event, like do you create some at the moment, or like how do you manage it with the pandemic going on?
Well, the pandemic's been pretty good here in Australia. Our governments and states locked down the borders. Like the state that I live in, Queensland, they locked it down straight away, and the rest of the country laughed at us and whatnot and said, you know, we're, you know, blah blah blah. But that just means that we were the first ones to reopen back up as well. So you know, there was masks that were being worn. 1.5 meter rules, strange rules of no dancing at bars, and there was like having to clean your hands and all that sort of stuff all the time. We've implicated all of this into our poker tours as well, where we've got stations. You know, every time there's a break or something like that, chips get cleaned, cards get sprayed, tables get wiped down. It's to be honest with you, it's more of it's a nicer environment coming back to a clean, fresh table, in my opinion. So there's been some positives about the pandemic, but we were out of action for nearly 6 months, maybe 6 to 7 months there with no poker, and yeah, we hit the ground running as soon as those restrictions were lifted in a big way.
Mm-hmm. And how do the people react now that you start to like do or organize those events? Like, do you see more people coming in because they're just bored, or do you see less people coming in because they're afraid? What is your opinion on that?
Record numbers, mate. Record numbers. They're just coming in through the roof. Like people are sitting at home going stir crazy, and I'm sure like the online scene must have boomed as well across the world while COVID was on as well, because what else have people got to do? or unless they're practicing, with their family and teaching them how to play the games. And maybe the next generations of poker players are going to come through too after the pandemic, because there's probably been more family time that's been orientated, and card games and board games and just things that you just probably don't really get to do. It's kind of I can understand why it's a big reset, because life was very busy prior COVID, and then all of a sudden families and friends don't have so much weight on their shoulders to go out and make ends meet, and government's interjecting money into the economy that that they do get to spend more family time. And I think there's some positives that have come out of COVID, So, but for the industry of poker, it's been fantastic. It's only going to get bigger and better, and I think it's like fast forwarded the growth of poker by maybe 2 to 5 years, easy.
My question here is, because you're also a very successful poker player, right? You're not just like a shareholder, you're also a very successful poker player. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about your poker journey and yeah, which stakes you play at the moment, and maybe also what you love about poker?
Sure. So I've always been a tournament player. I love the game as a sport. I love the game as more of a strategy, game theory per se. And thank you for your kind words of saying that I'm a successful poker player. I'm not in the high leagues of success that I consider. Like if you look at my Hendon mob, maybe I'm 30, 40 grand or something there. But that's only been over the last 2 years per se, and that's not too bad, because we're in my state, it's only been since 2017 that poker's actually become legal to play, and it's just gone like wildfire. So yeah, my background is I started in a small country town. I had a passion for it. I met a traveling poker player who was in a bit of trouble, who opened my doors to, who became my mentor, who taught me strategy, and we sat down and played Poker Stars for many, many years. So I started online, like maybe many people do when they're first into the scene. And then I had the ability to find the big tournaments, and I started traveling to Melbourne and playing the APT, and I started playing the Aussie Millions, some of those events. But I always looked at my poker. I was very precautious because I just didn't want to go and splash a lot of money. And a lot of poker players do that, They start going from level to level to level, and their head grows and their confidence grows, and they think they're good. And then all of a sudden one day, there's a 20% dip like Bitcoin, and they wonder, where's all my money gone? But no, I used to just play all the small ones, and I practice, and I'd even go to Crown, and they had a $10,000 ticket up, and they had eight tournaments, and there was like 60 players each, and I won 6 of those tournaments, and then I went heads up for the 10K ticket, and I lost. So but it was a fantastic learning experience, and then I went up from there, and I started paying $250 buy-ins, and then $1,000 buy-ins, but the best thing about poker is that as much as I love the game, I'm a student of the game. I always will be. I always put on my student hat, my teacher's hat, to be able to talk to people and get them to learn the understandings of the game, because it's quite important to wrap your head around the game, because if you don't really learn the steps and the processes of the game, then you're the fish at the table. It's that simple. So, hey, and nobody wants to be the fish, because they're the ones, the pros, they all look after. You can see the inexperience, I should say, oozing out of them. And then, yeah, so, I mean, after those learnings and whatnot, I then went on to the company that I now am part shareholder of. I got second, and I was heads up in one of their biggest main events and on their live TV platforms. You can check them out at APT Live. That's their main page here in Australia, and we do live tournaments and holdings. Yeah, last hand was my pocket kings versus his pocket jacks, and I was about to be champion, and then a jack come on the turn. It took my dreams away. So no, and I've won a WPT high roller, but And I've had some other successful tournaments as well. So, I mean, I look at my Hendon mob as my resume, I should say. So I want to keep building that. And, you know, somebody like you is so important to have a mindset coach, because that's the only way it's going to grow, is if, you know, you've got your head on your shoulders. So.
What would you say in Australia? Because I've never been to Australia, to be honest. What would you say is like the biggest either strategy or mindset leak that you see in other poker players? I know it's a very complicated question, but maybe you can answer it, because I'm very curious about this.
What do I see more? Like,
no,
do I see?
What is like the most common mindset leak or the most common strategy leak that you see in Australian players?
Okay. Well, look, I play at all sorts of levels. So in the grassroots, the common thing that I hear is the player. There's two things. How does he play with that particular hand? I don't understand. He's such a bad player. Well, they don't understand that it's not in their control. Like, each person has control of their own decision. And the other thing is just going out into a regular social public and just complaining about how bad somebody else is and how they're losing from their their benefit. Maybe it's the same thing. I don't know, but that's probably the most common mindset that I see at the beginner level. At the higher levels, I see people play good poker. I see people. I think, personally, call me biased, I think the Australian poker player generally is a really good poker player. We've had a lot of success on the world stages with a lot of our players. However, I don't see a lot of them take a professional stance to what you do, mindset. I don't see a lot of them take that stance. And those who are taking the stance are definitely in the top 10% of this country. So, you know, it's a small field, and it does need to broaden. You know, people are just learning, you know, old school tactics like small ball, like not Barry Greenstein, Dan Harrington. I think he came up with it, and I think Daniel Negreanu popularized it. You know, the tactic of small ball. So, you know, people need to learn strategies like that. They're starting to take master classes because it's starting to become a popular thing. And so you should. You need to be a student of the game. You need to teach yourself the three components: psychology, exactly what you teach; strategy, what the pro would teach with their schools and their classroom.
Talking about psychology, do you think, or how important do you think is learning about mindset and improving performance for not just like poker players in Australia, but poker player all over the world?
Very important, highly important. If you don't think that you can, if you think that you can just walk into a poker tournament, register, and know that you can beat player fields of over 200, 300 people and not go through any challenges, any mental stress, any of those things, and you just think that you can pull it off, well, then you're one in many few that can. You know, like, but if you want to come into something and you want to give it the best shot, my belief is that the highest athletes in the world, I believe poker is a sport. I truly believe poker is a sport. And I believe that the way that you approach poker is like any sportsman would. You know what I mean? Like any footballer, you know, or any athlete, or they have to go through, or, you know, a swimmer's doing 500 meters. So that's 10 laps of 50 meters. And they know at this point of, at my second lap, I'm going to feel this fatigue. At my fourth lap, I'm going to feel this. And then they need mindset coaching to be able to know how to overcome that and push through, because the body can go a lot further than what you really believe that you can. Women do it every day with pregnancy. They push through all that sort of stuff, you know, and bless you girls, you know, like, what a hard job that is. But it's just an analogy. It's just an example. And if you use your mind and your ability in the right way, then 100% you're that much. You've got the advantage over everybody else, because, you know, generally you're going to find that cash field more than most people do. And if you want to win, you need to be 100% determined. You need to reassure yourself. You need to repeat those things, just like you would see an affirmation on the wall, just to make yourself feel better. You know what I mean? You read those things and you tell yourself those things, and then those things become reality and truth. It's a real thing, because you start to believe what you see. And mindset training is no different. How's that answer, Drew?
Yeah, good answer. I like it. I like it. And I would also agree on that. My personal opinion on that is like, the higher you play, the lower the edges get, I think, like the strategy edges. Because like if you play a certain limit, your opponent also knows how to free bet light, for example, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Or how to check raise or so. Like those people at certain limits, people know how to do these things. How does your day look like? Like, do you also play poker, or like, are you like focused on the Australian Poker Tour, or how can I imagine your day?
Well, it's funny, I don't get to play too much poker at the moment, and that fits in good with my schedule at the moment. We've got a series coming up in 2 weeks' time with the Gold Coast. We're probably estimating about 900,000. We'll probably hit that million mark if we're lucky enough. We've got people coming in from all across Australia: Sydney, Western Australia, Adelaide. They love it. So my schedule is a lot of pre-planning for the Australian Poker Tour, a lot of speaking with players and their friends as well, because I've been around the circuit for so long. So that's a lot of my day. If I do get spare time to play poker, like for example, I know there's a game coming on Sunday. It's a 250 buy-in. I will need to take time for myself to prepare for that. And if you're asking me about my preparation and how I do that sort of stuff, it's just taking time for yourself. Like some people use yoga and they just shut everything else out from the world, and then they pinpoint that visualization of what their goal is, and that's what I do. So I like to put myself in good vibes. I like to put myself around good people, people who are going to push me and my limits and make me a better person. So it's all about finding positive. Attach yourself to those positive moments and push yourself against people and players that you just always want to thrive to be better than. And I guess that's my drive. You got to find your drive. You got to find your passion, and you've got to attach any bad emotion, bring it into your body, flip it around, see the other side of it, and use that emotion as a weapon. You know what I mean? And make it good for you. So
yeah,
that's my mindset. That's my mindset of going into anything. And then obviously I'll take some time to, research some videos and some strategy play. But mindset is number one for me. It's the first thing that I need to do before I even sit down at a poker table. If my head's not in the game, you shouldn't even sit down. What a waste of a buy-in. Like, sit down, be ready to play, and expect to win.
If someone here from Europe, wants to play at the Australian Poker Tour, for example, right now it's impossible, right? So we have to wait a little bit. But afterwards, if they're interested, they can get in touch with you over Facebook, Instagram, or how do they do it?
Yeah, sure. I've got many points of contact. You can contact me on my I've got a page called Aydyn James Anthony Glen. That's just where I do all my stuff. I've got a YouTube channel called Pokerballing. That's also under my name, Aydyn James Anthony Glen. And please like and subscribe to that. And you can go straight to our Facebook page, the Australian Poker Tour, or you can check us out on our webpage, theaustralianpokertour.com.au. And mate, come and join the action. I would love to see some Austrian poker players coming over to Australia. It's a bit of a tongue twister, Australia, I speak to Karim, and Karim talks about the European players and how good they are. Well, I'd love to see you on our turf and come take our money. So.
Yeah, I will definitely also come to Australia. That's on my bucket list, 100%. Maybe I'll play with you on the same table at some point.
A lot of sharks in Australia. We've got great whites, we've got hammerheads. Yeah, a lot of deadly wildlife.
Amazing. I really love the work that you do by yourself on your YouTube channel, also the Australian Poker Tour. And for me, it's definitely one of the goals to come to Australia. And I heard many great things. I have many friends who've been there who told me amazing stuff. They said, like, I have many friends who tell me, like, if like there would be like something bad happen in Europe or so, they would like try to move to Australia, you know? So yeah.
Well, traditionally, if you're a convict, that's how we all got here. Yeah, we got sent here, and then they didn't realize that they were sending us to paradise, and we were like, "Thank you." So, especially like in Queensland on the Gold Coast, Mike Mizraki come up and played with us in one of our poker tours, and he compared the Gold Coast to Miami in America. You know, he said it's a miniature Miami, so. You know, it's just come enjoy it. It's tropical. Bring
100%.
shorts.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good point to end. Anything you want to share or add to my community?
Your community, I think we've spoken about most of it, Karim. I can understand that we both are passionate about poker. We love the psychology side of poker. Obviously, the guys that are working with you already know, the power of what it can bring to them, and I hope success for you all of you guys. That's another thing I like in entrepreneurship too. Is like you look for those people of success, and you find that in the poker room, you find that in business, and you find that with people just like myself and Karim. And put the right people around you guys, and go out there and take stacks. And I wish you guys all the best. It felt.
Yeah. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to my channel. And I will link all your social accounts and website and everything down below. And guys, if you have any questions for Aydyn, send him a message, get in touch with him. And thanks for watching.
Thank you. Appreciate it.